What's good, everybody? This is Pastor B, Brian Mitchell, and welcome to the Two Preachers in the Popcorn Box podcast. This is my co-host.
DT, what's happening, people?
All right. Well, listen, guys. Thank you again so much for tuning into today's episode. We thank you so much for your consistent support. All right. And today's episode, we are going to talk about WandaVision. WandaVision has a lot of pros, cons, things people like about it,
Right.
things people are not quite so excited about. And so we're going to talk about it. Now, I have to say right now, as we are recording this on Saturday, the 6th of February, if you have not watched episode 5, it's
Don't
your
watch
fault.
it.
All
Right.
right.
Turn it off. See us like after you watch it.
Listen, spoilers are coming. I just want you to know this right now.
Ding,
I
ding,
was so
ding.
excited about episode 5 that I was on Twitter just kind of throwing out my questions. And I saw some people like, listen, the episode hadn't even been out 10 hours yet. What are we doing here? But I was just excited. So,
Gotcha.
again, spoiler warning. You know, I won't be mad if you listen to me tomorrow or, Tuesday or whatever. I just want you
Right.
to know. All right. So, we've been waiting on a Marvel property for a really, really long time.
Right.
Really,
New
really
anyway.
long time. And so, WandaVision is the first is the first Marvel property. And so this episode, this show is very, very interesting for those who may not be familiar with Wanda and Vision. Of course, Wanda is the Scarlet Witch, and Vision is Vision, right? These two people, they fall in love. And so this particular series is is a um is a journey toward a possible alternate reality. It hasn't quite been um clear yet exactly what's happening. But it starts off kind of weird, man. Starts off with these 50s and 60s type theme sitcoms, right? And a lot of people didn't like that fact at the jump because because it was kind of slow. I gotta admit, it was slow. They were really, really focused on building up the fact that this was not 2021, that this was a flash in the past, right? And so let me ask you this question. From the jump, what was your first thoughts or your first opinions about the first 2 episodes? We'll just lump those two together.
Uh I was kind of, looking for something else, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because the trailers, they were kind of alluding to, to what we were gonna see. So it was a lot left to be desired. But being a Marvel fan, I was like, okay, I'm gonna bend it. I'm gonna be with them. I'm gonna rock with them to see what's up, and hopefully the development will pique my interest soon. But the first 2 episodes, it was like, where we going with this? What is this? I looked at the first episode, I'm like, what is this? I wanted to really talk to the writers and everybody else. I'm like, say, bro, if y'all wanted to do something, just don't do that. So and then the way it kind of jumped into something,
Mm-hmm.
um like from before you seen WandaVision, you already knew that Vision was gone. Vision was no longer
Right.
Vision. So to have Vision there was still a cool thing, but at the same time you still have a lot of unanswered questions, like how did Vision, how did they create the show? Why is Vision functioning, even though
Right.
he was, I don't, you can say he had life, he didn't have life just because of the Infinity Stone that he had. But so you have those open-ended questions. So as a Marvel fan, it's like, okay, how did you bring back Vision? Where has Wanda been this entire time?
Right.
Outside of the final fight that they had and, beat Thanos and went through all those stages. So that was, for me, that's what I wanted to know. So them starting it that way was okay. So like I said, being a Marvel fan, I kind of just took a couple of deep breaths and watched episode 1 and 2.
Right. So I think what this series is doing is showing people if they are a true Marvel Comics fan or if they are an MCU fan.
It's good, yeah.
Because I think a lot of people who were complaining heavily at the beginning were MCU
You
fans.
fans, right?
And they're used to excitement, action, storylines, plots, things that were easily to follow.
Right.
And so with this particular series, I actually like it because everything isn't right up in your face.
Face,
You
right.
literally have to pay attention to every detail, right? And so, you know me, I'm analytic, I'm like a detail type person. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen these episodes, my friend. Like, I just watched all 5 with my wife about an hour ago. You know what I'm saying? So, um, in watching it all, of course, and then going back and watching a couple of things jumped out to me. So, first episode, they're at the kitchen table. They're feeding Vision's boss, right? And so, leading up to that particular part of the scene, Vision's boss was really, really interested in trying to figure out who Vision was, who his wife was, and trying to understand that Vision was management material.
Right.
I didn't know that they did this in the 50s and 60s, that they come to your house and try to learn everything
Those,
about you in
right.
order for you to get a promotion. That was kind of weird, I thought. But and so he out of nowhere starts to choke.
Right.
Now, initially, the first time I saw that, I thought Wanda was doing it. I really did. Because Wanda, so the guy's wife is like, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Now, first of all, that's weird. Because if my wife is choking or if my spouse is choking, I'm running over to them trying to, hey, let me get this out of you, Heimlich, all of this. And she's laughing like, stop it. And I was like, okay, that's weird. Right.
Right.
And so, Vision, of course, reaches in the dude neck, get his food out. But you could tell at that moment that something else behind the scenes was at work. You could tell something was happening.
Right.
Right. And so as you just go through, I mean, that to me was the only real highlight of the first episode.
Yeah, that was it. Because the first one, the first episode was like really, I nodded a couple of times. I was the anticipation of waiting for WandaVision because all of these
Right.
Marvel projects that are coming out, I'm looking forward to every last one of them. And so
Mm-hmm.
this was kind of the kicker for every last one of them to move forward in. So, and with that episode with the boss choking, to me, I saw I guess, some human traits in
Mm-hmm.
Vision.
Oh yeah.
So they I guess they to me, you can make him a more livable individual, more, an actual person, with with feelings and mannerisms of that nature, because everybody kind of just froze as this
Right.
dude choked forever and a day. And then finally he looked to Wanda to get permission. So again, like you said, there are certain things to make you think that something wasn't right. And all
Mm-hmm.
of a sudden, he had to, now he's a hero himself. Now his portrayal is different versus Marvel Comics, MCU, however you want to portray him.
Yeah.
He was this He was this hero, straightforward, let's get at it. But in this sitcom or whatever you want to call it, he was frozen. So it's kind of weird to see a strong hero get minimized to this kind of demeanor. So like you said, there's a lot to take in for these small 20 to 25 minute episodes with like 8 minute. You got 8 to 7 minutes to spare.
Oh,
You
that
just
made me
giving me
mad.
credits. I'm like, I mean, if you gonna give me that, give me all of that. Don't give me. Now I will say that now, and then being a Marvel fan, you looking for it's a shame. You're looking for something in between the credits to hopefully
Oh,
last you, bruh. It's like 7 minutes.
of
So
nothing.
you sitting in the movie waiting on something in between to give you a clue for next week. It's
Yeah,
7 minutes
man.
of just straight credits. I'm like, are you
It
kidding me?
made me mad too.
So again, I didn't want to get on no hype on anybody. I pulled
Yep.
away from social media when it came to, I'm not on Twitter, but any of these sites that I'm kind of connected to,
Hmm.
plus Instagram, Facebook, all of that nature. So everybody's beaming on these episodes. But that was the one thing that I can agree on millions of people. Like if you're gonna do something, give me more, and then and leaving that 7 to 8 minute gap at the end of the series for nothing. So yeah, but for 1 and 2, it's in the win. I'm gonna let you go because I got some things I want to talk about 3 through 5 though.
Okay. Yeah. 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 So let me jump to episode 2 real quick. So it is in this episode that Wanda meets the other women of the society, right? They have this planning committee meeting, and you meet Dottie, who is in charge of the planning committee.
Right.
And so there's this interaction between her and Dottie, and it seems like Dottie knows um, who Wanda is, or at least knows that she ain't supposed to be here.
Right.
Like something. She knows something, and that part we still don't know about. But during a conversation at the end of that meeting, um, you hear this voice coming through the radio, random voice saying, "Hey, Wanda, who is doing this to you?" And so, to me, that was the next, nugget of information. Like, okay, well, who is this person, right? Um, and then again, that was it for that episode. You had um the fact that Vision meet some of the men of the community, and they give him a piece of gum, and it's the gum that sticks in his gears that makes his behavior change, which was a bit of a stretch. And like you said, Vision has always been shortchanged in all of these movies anyway.
Yep.
But in this particular series, especially those first two, they really had his character be a lot like some of those leading men characters of the 50s and 60s sitcoms. A little goofy, a little aloof. And so he was definitely like that the first two episodes. Not really that cool at all. And so I was hopeful, but I wasn't going to give up on the series. But I definitely was disappointed after episode 2 that all we got was just a voice coming from a radio that nobody knew who it was.
Right.
Right?
They did a lot of bit and piece when it came to that. It really it didn't start coming together until 5. 5 was
Mm,
kind of the open door and kind of cluing and gluing some stuff together. What I did was excited about was the introduction to Monica Rambeau.
yes.
That to me, and I'm looking, and I want to, and I hope they actually do her justice. And we're in February for Black History Month, so let's get it. Because
We are.
she's another version of Captain Marvel.
So I'm going to tell you this.
What's up?
I did not know anything about Monica
Really?
until this series. Look, we already established at the beginning of this podcast that I didn't grow up with like superhero comics and stuff, but I did a lot of research
Okay.
on Monica, and yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She
So
is equally as powerful
she
as
is
Spectre.
she is very powerful. And
Spectrum, I think.
yeah, so she's exceptionally powerful in more ways than one. So I'm really and I'm not trying to take away from the WandaVision, but I'm really looking forward to seeing if they're going to actually allow her to become who she is in the comic book instead
Yeah,
of her who she is right now. And so her interaction, once she helped deliver the babies, and I think that was episode 3.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, she helped deliver the babies, and all of a sudden she came out of the fog that she was in and started to reveal some information. And this is when you started to see some changes in Wanda. And so everything started to manifest itself because it's almost as if Wanda is trying to suppress something by
right,
creating multiple distractions all over the place for the not for her to deal with her true reality is that Vision is really dead. She's grieving, and
right,
so she created this alternate reality not to face herself, which is hugely significant considering that we do the same thing,
oh yeah,
create some other distractions in life so we never have to deal with the true reality of life. And so we'll create this whole facade, this whole identity. And then she actually showed where you have to keep changing it just to maintain it. We go from the 50s to 60s. We go from these styles. We go from these hairstyles. We go from, okay, the identity change wasn't enough. To take control of people wasn't enough. To give
right,
give Vision an identity wasn't enough. To make me become a part of a group wasn't enough. Everything she was doing wasn't enough. It's like us. If you don't have a foundation and you've lost yourself because you put it in somebody else, you now have to redevelop your life. So you're going through these stages. To me, that's what WandaVision is. You're going through these multiple stages of not actually identifying the true enemy. At this point, we believe itself. If you've seen episode 5, I'm just jumping in. So
yeah,
it's very, to me, it that's what it's showing me. Something was wrong because as a Marvel fan, you knew from day one something wasn't right. Number one, it's in black and white. Number two, uh, Vision is alive. Number 3, they're dressed crazy. Number 4, they're creating this whole lifestyle in a house that's just supposed to be the suburban neighborhood. All of these things were not the true reality that we remember. And so being a Marvel fan, even being somewhat of an MCU fan, you should know something because the Wanda that you knew and the Vision you knew was totally
right.
different. So to me, now from 3 to 5, it was the breakdown of her reality. And no matter how much she tries to cover it up with the boys, with Vision getting jobs, with her becoming a part of this organization, it's
Hmm.
starting to crumble. Everything started to crumble. So yeah, I'm gonna stay right there.
So right before we dive real deep into 3, 4, and 5, let's talk about Agnes, man.
Okay.
Agnes is the nosy. Um, why don't you lock your door, neighbor?
No, what right, right.
Like, do people really live like that? Where your neighbor can just open up the door? I mean, I understand the sitcom, but it get on my nerves, my man. I was
Dude, this
like,
is
Jesus Christ! Every
dude,
time,
if you paid attention to the Jeffersons, Three's Company,
I know
um, Sanford and Sons, nobody locked the door. They might have knocked,
nobody knock on the
and
door,
Fred
nothing.
would say, "Come on in," or on the Jeffersons, Weezy or Florence would open the door. Nothing would be locked. On Three's Company, they would just bust in at all times. Family Matters, the front and the back door was unlocked. So all of these
Right,
sitcoms never locked their doors. They might have
man.
rang the doorbell. The Huxtables, even in the 80s and the Huxtables, they didn't have their door locked.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
just
that's
the
true.
back door was always swinging. The front door was always swinging. So, it was just a sitcom of,
Yeah,
I guess, trying to be friendly. I don't know,
I
but that's
think if you match the fact that she was always at their house at like the most randomest time, not really random,
they're
because
random.
I have read up some stuff who they think Agnes really is.
Gotcha.
Um, and so I think she has a larger role
She does.
in everything,
She
right?
does.
But it's, mhm.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
But it's just the fact that, man, like specifically episode 5.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Well, so yeah, it is 5. Yes, it's 5. So that they are the babies won't stop crying. And so they've been up all night. And so Vision says, maybe we just need to spend more time with them. And Wanda is like, or maybe we need some help. Bing! Here comes Agnes, right?
Right.
And for the first time, you see Agnes break character, right? Because she's like, I think we need to start this from the top.
Right.
And this goes back to what you were saying as far as Wanda being in control of the entire situation, because Wanda is in so much denial that things are going out of control that even when Vision catches on,
Right.
she doesn't really listen to him. She's like, you know what? Nah, everything is good. She was confused for a moment, but she's better now, right? And so I think you mentioned earlier how we always deal with control, right? Um, we handle it differently. Some people, whenever they are losing control, they get they get violent. They get loud and anxious, right? Because everything that I've tried to hold together, it technically was never ever really together,
First
to
place.
begin with.
Right.
But when other people are now coming into the understanding that it was never really together from the get go, now because other people are about to find out, that's when I'm really losing my mind. Is because I put up this facade that everything is good, and now people gonna think that I'm tripping.
Yeah. A lot of things start to unravel, but for me, Agnes started to show difference when she was having a conversation. I forgot the male's neighbor name that was
Oh
next
yeah,
door. You remember all
episode
of
2.
she was talking to him. Was that 2 or 3?
That was 2.
Okay. Um, but that's when she broke character then. She started to break character then. And then, oh boy, it was cutting his hedges that ended up cutting the fence. And they
Oh
were just
man,
standing there talking. All of the shifts again started changing. But you're right, Agnes has a major role to play. She knows a lot more than, she is maybe not being in somewhat of control or being controlled by,
mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch, so to speak, somewhat. Because that, like you said, episode 5, she just watched the boys grow. She didn't do nothing. She drinking bourbon. She chilling, and so she's like, "Can we take her from the top?" Because she knew she looked like she had some fear in her face.
Yeah,
So it's almost as if they're being tortured to a point that they keep this facade going just to have some level of "I'm not gonna die today." Because that's what, to me, that's what it looked like.
mm.
Because she had fear. And then if you pay attention to when Vision
Oh
released Norm's mind, Norm was in fear. He wanted to talk to his family. And so all of these things. And then every time something happens, like when they saw when Sword at episode 5. So who hadn't seen episode 5? I'm about to spill the
hey,
beans. And I'm not trying to jump ahead. So I'm gonna stop
oh
because
no
you
no,
wanted
we good. We just
okay.
we in there now, man.
Because episode 5, again, it started to reveal more and more. I think 4 was when the scientists from Thor started to get the picture in and started to pull stuff in so they could watch this, that, and the other. But episode 5, this is when you saw what happened with Monica Rambeau, what
Right.
happened when they sent the sword agent in the sewer, and he had the protective uniform on. He went through the hex, and after he came through the
Mm-hmm.
hex, he had a beekeeper suit on and everything. And so again, she saw that happening and she dismissed it. she is doing a whole lot of control, and it's actually making it matters worse. Destroying other people, not destroying, but manipulating other people,
Yeah.
putting other people in bondage. It's just a now it's I like it now because there's a lot going on. I'm up to speed with it now, but I'm
Yeah.
glad the pace is moving a little differently. It's now revealing more. The last episode, what we saw. Okay, I'm gonna stop because I'm about to tell some stuff. Go ahead, because I feel like I'm about to share some stuff that I don't. If people hadn't watched 5, I don't want to give too much of it
Listen,
up.
no, listen. That was the whole purpose of the disclaimer at the beginning. You
Okay.
have no idea. I've been wanting to talk to somebody about this series for weeks.
You could have called me, bro. We could have had it. Me and you on the Marvel all day. But
So we
it's
just gonna have this conversation
well, let's
publicly,
get
and
it.
they're
Let's
just
get it
gonna
in.
be
But
mad.
they gonna be look. They gotta watch it for themselves. I'm one of them dudes. You can still tell me I'm still gonna see it, but
Right.
it's a lot to reveal. And then they go to the There's so much stuff in there, man. Then they really because they are saying nobody knew. We now know how powerful she could be.
Right.
Because they allude to she could have defeated Thanos. She could have defeated
But she
Thanos.
good at it.
She could have defeated Thanos. So that came up. And
Yeah.
then the level of her power come up. And so even as far as and even it was in episode 4 or 5 when we actually get to see Vision in his true form with the Mind
Oh yeah,
Stone
that was cool.
snatched out his head
Oh God, yeah, that was cool.
and all of that stuff. And so who put him back together? Oh, I guess she had to after she stole him from the sword company. So it's a lot in this stuff. So yeah, you're right. I'm better now, but the first two, if I stop watching up the first, is just so yeah. But it now it has a lot of open ends for me. The
Okay.
Monica Rambeau part, the power scale from Wanda, what's going to happen with Vision, who's actually in control. Then we get her dead brother who's been recast by somebody else who
Right.
pops up after the fact. She's had this conversation with her boys that my brothers are far, far away, which we
Right.
know is supposed to be dead.
Right.
Which we know that is not the Quicksilver that we know in the MCU. But hey,
Right. So we're gonna talk about that because that was the big reveal, right?
yeah,
Of episode 5.
one of
That
them
they
anyway.
pulled, yeah, so that they pulled Quicksilver from the Fox properties
Right.
and brought him over to
Right.
the
Take him
MCU.
from the other lot.
So of course, there are so many places we could possibly go by
Yeah.
bringing that guy over.
Yeah.
So it's definitely picking up speed. Definitely a lot of ways, different places that this thing can go. So one type of character trope that Marvel has always had, I think even from the comics, bringing it to all of the movies, is the government leadership that's always trying to dictate and talk down to the superhero or the people under their charge.
Right.
So the Monica's boss,
Idiot.
this guy, he
Idiot.
really reminds me of Strucker.
You for real?
As far as just like his mentality and the way he talking down to people, he reminds me of Strucker. Now I know he works for Sword, and Strucker was doing all of his stuff like undercover, but it just was like that's the vibe that I felt from him.
He reminds me of General Ross. That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah.
To me, that's who he reminds me of because I have power. You have to follow my lead. This is my show. You will move like I want you to move. I'm gonna I'm gonna think you letting you run the show
But you ain't really
when
doing nothing.
Rambo, when Monica had the old plane that they were doing surveillance with, and he had attached a bomb to it. And so, to me, he looked like he just reminds me of General Ross of dictating all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Keisha
So
said she
look,
don't like the
Keisha,
actor. That was Quicksilver. He looks weird. Ain't he a Marvel?
okay. So
You right, Keisha? Yeah.
Keisha, he definitely looks weird because he's out of place in the sitcom.
He is. He's out
Because
of place,
from the
period.
back of the head, I thought it was the dude from the MCU at first. And I was like, wait a minute, how you gonna pull this out? That's who I
Well,
thought it was at first.
to be honest, not to cut you off, no, because she all Vision dead.
Right.
So you created babies. So you can't tell me you can't bring your dead brother back at this point. I'm just saying. I thought the same thing. I thought it was the one from the MCU.
Yeah.
So okay, my bad. My bad.
No. We good. Like I said, this is the conversation about this whole series. Um. So yeah. So I really think that Wanda is ultimately going to lose her mind, because she came really close whenever um, the guy tried to shoot her, whenever they brought the drone in
Yeah.
and Monica wanted to talk, but the boss wanted to kill her. And so she come through the force field um,
Drone dragging it.
with the drone, right? And so I don't think I'd ever seen anybody do what she did to the boss and to them soldiers. She basically was like, "Okay, you shooting these guns at me. How about I and change
Right.
everything and
Right.
point it toward him?" And I was like, "Oh, that's new." And so yeah, I think she's probably going to unravel these next couple of episodes.
Probably so, but there may still be something behind it. But
Oh, for sure.
to me, it's just a level of grief that's being exposed, and then it also shows that she's still in control, simply because she came directly to them,
Right.
walked through her hex, and drug that drone like it's a bad beaten child and slung
Right.
it at them. But it also shows that Keith says the Magneto move. You're right. Good
Yeah, you're
job.
right.
You're right. But it also shows that she has the ability to control multiple people at the same time.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm telling you, the range of her powers is ridiculous right now. So for me, and then when your reality hits, what's gonna happen with Vision? Because now you got the fans gotten comfortable with seeing Vision coming to the reality. You can't control me like you control everybody else. It
Right.
would she said, "Oh, I can't," and she walked off while the credits were still rolling. I thought that was pretty cool. And then how
Yeah.
they just how she cut the credits or they cut the credits. Well, she had to
Mm-hmm.
because it's still her show, and then they were
Yeah.
finna get into this heated, and then she shifted. So, it's I'm just interested. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes because they left a lot of stuff wide open, and even I'm sorry, and
No, come on.
even when they did that scan for Monica, they couldn't find nothing.
Right.
That in itself. So I'm waiting on them to pull that out too. So
So yeah, here's what this series needs to do.
hurry up.
All of these questions, all of these unanswered, open-ended questions, they need to answer all of them. They
Right.
don't need to leave any of them out
Mm-mm.
unless they gonna have a major like cliffhanger at the end that's gonna come in with like some of these other shows that they got, like the Doctor Strange show. I think it's supposed to be loosely connected to Wanda.
It is.
That's the only thing. If
Yep.
they don't do that, we need to figure out why Monica's lab report is clear and don't show
Right.
nothing. We
Right.
need to know who Dottie is. We need to know who was the original person that they was looking for whenever the FBI. Who was
Right.
this missing person? Right?
You're right.
Because
Because
obviously it wasn't WandaVision because they didn't know that they was there until the girl from Thor, was able to see who was in there.
right. They knew something because they had footage of Wanda snatching up, coming through Sword factory,
Right.
stealing Vision, and then disappearing after she stole Vision. And so, now they did answer that, but I'm so glad that they came to the point of letting us know, how this came to be.
Yeah.
So I like, the first two was crazy, but I like how they're piecing stuff together. But you're right. They need to put all these pieces together, because you did bring up a point that I thought about, is that the multiverse with Doctor Strange coming out, will this be the precursor for that?
Right.
Because Wanda right now is looking like a villain. But
Mm-hmm.
Monica seems to think there's something else. Right now, I'm contributing that she wants her family to be left alone because she has nobody left,
Right.
because she's grieving. That's what I'm gonna contribute that to, which is crazy because it's a whole lot for you to be grieving with, and you didn't hijack the whole time.
Right.
So, it's a lot of stuff. Hopefully they come up. And then I think by the last episode, we're supposed to get this major reveal, and we don't even know who it is, but we can't get there yet because we don't know what's going to happen in episode 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Right.
I mean, 6, 7, and 8, 9.
Right. So, any final thoughts? Because this particular episode is really just a movie, just us talking about this series,
Right.
because there's so much um, unanswered questions. Like, this isn't like a movie where we know where we were lost at the beginning and then we have the answers at the end.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's still so much more to uncover. So, any final thoughts about this series, about the characters, about um, what you think Disney Plus is doing? Do you like this, the direction that you're heading
Right now, it's cool. I'm just glad we got past those first two episodes. I'm sorry I keep saying that, but this was just so I
in?
was I was about to turn it off and not watch again. But since we're here, I like the reveals. I like the fact that Wanda's now breaking down. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to develop it. I'm actually looking forward to all the new, series that's supposed to be coming on Disney Plus, as far as the MCU is concerned. I'm a huge MCU fan. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm a huge comic book fan. So
Yeah.
all of those things are important to me. I'm really, really, really hoping and looking forward to them allowing Monica Rambeau to be who she needs to be. And I really hope that's one of the things that gets to come out of this series, because it will be a loss. You just can't use her name and her image alone and not bring about what she really stands for.
Right.
And I also thought it was interesting when they brought her in, the guy that I call General Ross. He
Mm-hmm.
said you're grounded. Why did he tell her she's grounded? I know he says she's a lieutenant, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of stuff going on that's not even answered. So I really want to know, what does that mean? Is there something that they hadn't revealed yet? And again, that correlates with you getting scanned and your scan not reading anything. Is it white? Is it pure energy? Is it your energy level? So even when they did the DNA, they couldn't find nothing. It was blank. Are
Right.
you pure energy? What happened when you came back from the snap?
Yeah.
So all of that, the missing 2 years, this, that, and the other, you still got so many. And the fact that these episodes are so freaking short, you really can't, you got to impact so much. So they got a lot to do in the last few episodes. And don't be leaving me hanging so long. I got to wait the next year to figure out what y'all do. I'm sorry, had a moment. And I hope
That's
that
true.
all I want them, I like it. I'm looking forward to more. So that's all I want from them, is don't sell me short. I'm
Absolutely.
done. Yeah.
Absolutely. Man, you had said something, and I was gonna echo that, and now I forgot. Um, and I'm so mad about that.
That's all right.
But again, this is basically it for this episode, guys. Let me know in the comments whether or not you, like us, really didn't like those first two episodes. Of course, you couldn't have started at three because you wasn't gonna really know what was gonna happen. But let me know what you think about it. What do you think is gonna happen next? And on, well, actually, let me say this: you guys have listened to this podcast, and I really want to know how this is blessing you, how it's helping you out. So, what I'd like for you to do is to go to podchaser.com. All right. podchaser.com and search for the Two Preachers in the Popcorn Box podcast and leave us a comment, leave us a review. Anybody who listens to the podcast can put their answers there. All right. So we really want to know how this podcast has been helping you and blessing you. All right. And so on behalf of my co-host, DT over there, I am your host, Pastor B, and we will see you guys later. Have a good
Peace.
one.